Yeah.
Before we go, I want to say, Andrew Hager, if you're still on, email me at chris@howiehawkins.us and we can talk about putting on a presentation about trains. Um, I wasn't taking your questions on trains specifically because this is a very broad based thing and it's not a niche, but and you know that's a very niche thing. But like in Southern Illinois, I have a candidate. It wasn't steam; he was running on hydrogen light rail, right? And so this conversation about train engines is super important because if we're gonna if we're gonna have a modern um, kind of there's a word, modern logistics system. Logistics is the word. If we're going to have a modern logistics system under a Green New Deal, trains are going to be a huge part. If we're going to get rid of car culture, trains are going to be a huge part. And that doesn't just mean high-speed rail that connects major cities. That means quality mass transit and accessible mass transit in those cities, in the cities, and then regional light rail that connects all of the surrounding communities into those hubs where they can get on a train in their town of 1,000. They can get into, or a bus, I guess. They can get to the city of 100,000, which then can get them to the city of 3 million that has the high speed, right? So we have it's a huge issue that's super important. And I had a local green candidate that ran on it. So chris@howiehawkins.us, and we can talk about doing something on trains and regional light rail and all that stuff because it's all part of these bigger pictures, right? Where I grew up in Central Illinois, every little town used to have a train. Before cars came, they stopped in every single town, you know, and we lost it to car culture. The candidate that was running in Southern Illinois, the point he always made was the tracks are there. They're running Union Pacific on it. We just don't run Amtrak on it anymore. And so the solution in the case of rail, it's really about modernization more than building a whole new system, because we built the whole system originally, and then with car culture we let the regional aspects of it degrade. So I got way off there, but email me on trains. We've been on a couple hours. So these first three that we did, Garrett and I intentionally went long, right? We wanted to cast a broad net. We wanted to talk about a lot of things. We wanted to do it more one directionally via the live stream. We will, as I said at the beginning, these 101s are going to be recurring. So we've finished our first three and we will cycle back into them. So in April, we'll be talking about Green Party 101 again. Then in May, Socialism 101. And then in June, back to organizing. These next calls are going to be designed, or these next workshops are going to be designed to be more two directional, where Garrett and I are going to attempt to take these 2-hour presentations that we've put together and slam and condense them into something that's more digestible, and then and they'll be on Zoom instead of a live stream, but then have most of the time not dedicated to us talking about it and giving a presentation, but in diving into more of a two-directional discussion about where on the Green Party one we can get into questions like Gloria said about what's happened to her local, right? And a lot of Greens post-COVID should be engaged in conversations about what's happened to their local and how might they revive it coming out of COVID. Because the party's ground game was really devastated by COVID. It wasn't strong enough to sustain, and we don't have the money to just continue, paying for Facebook ads and TV time like the Republicans and Democrats, right? So the next three in June, July, and or in April, May, and June will be more two-directional. And in the socialism one, we can get a little more into specific ideas. Garrett was talking about changing ourselves first, and it's just like Julia Kristeva and her psychic revolution, and Kristeva was a post-Marxist that took Freud and Marx and integrated, and she's brilliant, right? But we didn't really get into her, and if someone wanted to talk more about that, we could, and then when we get into the organizing one, I haven't said it yet, but Garrett, in my opinion, is in the best local in the country. Allegheny County, in my opinion, it's not even close anymore. I places like Baltimore have been historically strong, but I don't think they're where they used to be. I think they've kind of had a fade. And Carbondale in Southern Illinois, where in 2010 our governor candidate got 22% of the vote in Southern Illinois, 11% statewide, right? And that was driven by Southern Illinois and their 22%. So we can get into some of those conversations about how are people succeeding locally. That's one we should probably invite Jay on, or somebody from Allegheny. We could see what Frank is doing in Baltimore and have some people who have had some success come and talk to come and contribute to a conversation. So we'll be advertising them. Garrett and I haven't talked about it, but my thought is to keep them on these fourth Tuesdays. So that's kind of my mindset unless we change it. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the little bell thingy for notifications. On this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, Howie will be having his weekly Green Socialist podcast, and he'll be joined by Matt Ho, who is the U.S. Senate Green Party U.S. Senate candidate from North Carolina. Matt is a veteran and ex-State Department contractor who got pretty famous for resigning over the Afghanistan war, and is a well-known peace activist. So it'll be the second time Howie's had Matt on. It'll be a great conversation. And so, make sure you hit that on Saturday and go to greensocialist.net and watch our social media to see the next one of these 101s and all the other education stuff like trains, right, that we have coming up. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.